This one doesn't work. We can't do that, okay? Because really in the end, those are actually the same factor, and they're both multiply factors. Okay, so I'm going to do a plus 1, a plus 1. That a minus 1 is a divide by a minus 1. That's an a times by a plus 1. These two together cancel out with that, so we end up with a minus 1. So what can we do with some of these ones here? And I'm going to use this strategy where I'm going to times the top and bottom by the same factor. I've got mixed fractions in here, and I need to clear out some of these fractions. We can clear out fractions by multiplying by a denominator. So if I multiply the bottom here by x and the top of the fraction by x, like this, I really haven't changed anything because I'm just multiplying by 1. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to times the top of this by x, the bottom of this by x. So I'm just going to times by, oops, this is not the case. So I'm just going to leave that one there like that. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. Okay, so I'm going to clear out some of these fractions. So I'm going to end up with 2x squared over x squared plus 2 all over, and this is going to be 1 minus 1 over x. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to need to clear out this fraction here. So I'm going to multiply by x, multiply top of this fraction by x. So again, I'm just multiplying by 1 over 1. So I can simplify this way. This becomes times goes on top, so 2x cubed. Okay, that doesn't go on the bottom, so x squared plus 2. My main divide line here, and then it's going to be x minus 1. This cancels out here. I multiply the x onto the 1. Now I'm at a point where I can just kind of do my times and divide, so I'm going to do this 2x cubed. That's going to be divide by x squared plus 2 and divide by x minus 1 as well. Okay, so again, I've gone back to my times and divide strategy. Okay, here again, I've got this complex fraction, so I want to clear out some of these denominators. So I'm going to multiply by 2 and 2 here. I'm going to multiply by a and a here. Okay, that clears out the 2's here, that clears out the a right here, and I end up with, okay, so times by 2, so that's just going to be left with a on top. This 2 multiplied in here is going to be 2a plus 1. I've got my main divide line here, so I'm going to end up with a squared. The a's cancel out, so I'm just left with plus 1. And on the bottom here, I'm just left with 2a. Again, these are not factors, so they don't cancel out. The plus 1s are not factors either. So I'm going to just make this into one fraction. A on top, 2a plus 1 on bottom. A squared plus 1 is a divide. 2a is times. So then I can just simplify that to 2a squared over 2a plus 1, a squared plus 1. Okay, so what are some of my strategies here? Well, I can multiply by reciprocal. Okay, I can multiply by reciprocal. Okay, that's definitely one strategy I can use. I can use, my strategy is times on top, divide on bottom. Okay, we've got another strategy here that we multiply top and bottom. Okay, so times top times bottom to eliminate complex fractions. Okay, so if I have, especially with these pluses, if I have these plus factors here, I don't want to have a whole number plus a fraction. I kind of want to get rid of those here. So these, and I'm going to maybe highlight that this strategy, what I'm talking about, is this idea here, right? When we use this times x, okay, or here times x times x. Here we use times 2 times 2 times a over a. These are really just multiplying by 1, so it doesn't change the fraction, but what ends up happening is it clears out the denominator here. Although it introduces a factor here, it's not a fractional factor, so it tends to make things simpler. Okay. The other thing is you have some other shortcuts that we can use. Okay, some shortcuts are ones like this. I'll maybe write a couple of these out. So if I have AB over A, that's going to be, oops, I'll put C. Okay, this is A over BC. Okay, that's a shortcut. I have ones like this, AX over B over X. That's just A over B. Okay, we can have some of these shortcuts that are useful to know and use.